Greetings from the PwC Academy here in Warsaw, Poland. My name is Steve Willis, and I will be your host during this short debrief of the first half of the operational case study. This video is relevant if you are taking your exam in May 2015. Now, you might be overwhelmed at this point by the 22 pages of detailed information that you found. Maybe you're not sure what to make of it. Well, the purpose of this introductory session is to help you organize that information, and we're going to do it by doing three things. First, we'll go through the case study section by section, looking for the most important information. We'll link that information to your operational level syllabus, and then we're going to go to the big picture, and we're going to try and find any potential problems that the company might be facing. The case study is about the company Batton Bicycles, a traditional manufacturing organization, and you found lots of information when you read the story, 22 pages of it. We're going to use two classic tools to organize that information. We're going to start with a position audit. Okay. So we will categorize the information into internal and external, and then break it down into strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we will use the PESTLE tool to help us with the external information, looking at that info from the angles of political, economic, social, technical, environmental, or legal. And remember, your perspective in this challenge. At the operational level, you are a finance assistant, and you'll be advising, evaluating, helping to make short-term decisions. So, let's get started looking at the first section of the pre-scene, and that is the background information. So, take a minute, make sure you've read this, go through there, look for all of the important information, and join me as I go through this section. Let's look at some of the important information that we learn in the background information about Batton Bicycles. Well, we find out that Batton is a traditional family-owned business. It's steeped in history. We learn about the stories and legends of the founder, and we find out that the company is still controlled and owned by the family, in particular this Jim Batton, the new MD. And from a corporate governance angle, because there is limited separation of ownership and control, we can say there's a little agency problem here. So the mechanisms of corporate governance that you learned about for big listed companies, like the committees, might not be as relevant here, this part of the story. We learn about the unsuccessful expansion that Batton made into other forms of transportation, and then we find out that they have found their niche, and we find out about their value proposition, that Batton focuses on high-quality bicycles, they deliver excellent engineering, and they have built up a strong, prestigious brand. We also learn that Batton is still located in their original 100-year-old workshop, probably a beautiful big brick building from the Industrial Revolution. And I ask you, is this building a strength or a weakness? Well, on one hand, it's probably a very valuable premises if it's an old building in the center of the city. Or we also learn that it could be a weakness. We find out that the size of the workshop limits their production, limits their capacity, and we discover that the layout of the machinery is quite inefficient. Make sure that you can talk about any accounting issues that can come up from this. Can you describe the steps to revalue such a building? Can you talk about disposal? Make sure you are good with all of your accounting standards from F1 related to property, plant, and equipment. Then we learn about Jim, the new leader, and his new aspirations. He wants to take the company in new directions, and he's formed a new strategy. He questions the current approach to selling, suggesting that they should move to a more sales orientation. Well, I question that, and I say maybe they should move to a marketing orientation. He questions their product range, right? The limited product range. They currently have 2 bicycles. Okay, does this meet the needs of their customers, the changing needs of their customers? Should Batton customize bicycles in the future? So to summarize this area of the story, we learn about some strengths. And maybe we could say one strength is this reputation that they have built up, right? The strong reputation that's mentioned. And the skills of the workforce. The workforce has been in place for many years, and they make the bicycles by hand. And this new leadership from Jim taking the company in a new direction. And we can see that the workshop might be a valuable asset to the company. On the other hand, we learn about some weaknesses. Okay? The size of the workshop is limiting capacity, and the poor layout of the machinery is leading to inefficiencies. Let's turn our attention now to pages 2 and 3 of the pre-scene, where we are presented with pieces from Cycling News and Lifestyle Today, 2 magazines. Here, the story switches to the external environment, and it's a great time to break out the pestle model. There's a lot of information from the social perspective. We learn that cycling is growing in popularity. People watch cycling events on TV, and they go to the sporting events more often. There is more awareness of cycling as a good form of exercise. The story talks about cities investing in bike paths and companies providing bicycle storage facilities. We learn that people are using bicycles for more and more leisure activities. People are going on cycling trips, weekend cycling trips. And there is the birth of the bicycle prosumer movement, where bicycle consumers are more and more interested in the technical specs of bicycles and the materials. In the second magazine, we learn that there's a growing demand for colors and graphics, and we learn that some people even buy 2 bicycles so they can have color-coordinated bicycles and sports clothing. From an economic perspective, we see that the bike touring niche holiday is growing, so hotels are offering this as a special service. We could also look at the political section, and the government's investing in cycling paths could be linked to that perspective. Technical, more and new materials are available. New high-tech materials are available. Okay, so opportunities that we learn about here. The industry is growing. Okay, this is great news for Batton Bicycles. More people interested in buying bicycles. There's a growing appreciation of high-tech bicycles. Well, Batton is positioned well to exploit this trend. Okay, they have high-quality bicycles, and they are built to high engineering standards. Lots of marketing opportunities are presented here. Batton can sponsor some of these bicycle events. They can do a joint venture with the companies organizing the weekend bike touring. Okay? They can do partnerships with these companies that are building the bike storage facilities. So use your imagination. Lots of marketing opportunities are available. Okay? Are there any threats? Well, are the competitors better positioned to exploit these opportunities? We learned earlier that Batton's capacity is limited right now, and they only make 2 models, and they only have 4 colors that we'll learn shortly. So, are the days of the boring and functional bicycle over? According to, this is a question asked by Lifestyle Today, and maybe that's directed directly at Batton Bicycles. So that's just some of the information that we learn from the external environment from these 2 magazines. Let's move now to page 4 to the discussion of the current position. Okay, in this section we learn about the industry. We learn more information about Country Y. We also learn more internal information about Batton Bicycles. So, have a read of this section, and let's look at the issues, guys. Well, we learn that in Country Y, bicycle production is moving offshore. Most companies have moved their production offshore to cheaper production countries. And we learn that Batton is bucking this trend. Batton is one of the few companies left in Country Y making bicycles. Well, This might be a strength. This can be contributing to the patriotic brand that Batton has built, leading to higher levels of customer loyalty. We also learn that Batton only makes 2 models, and Batton charges high prices for their bikes. We learn that the market position has been steady until recently, so there's a clue that there are problems on the horizon, and you'll discover these problems when you get into the financial information later in the pre-scene. So, what's happening here, guys? Well, some questions. Should Batton continue and follow this trend of offshoring? Well, what might happen to the quality? Will quality drop? It doesn't have to drop. Look at Apple iPhones. Look at Lenovo laptops. Okay, these are produced offshore, and these are known as high-quality products. What might happen to lead times? What's going to happen to the supply chain? Will get more complicated. Okay, we learned that Batton is charging high prices. So, what kind of pricing strategy are they using? Can they revisit this? Should they think about what pricing strategy and maybe change it? Okay, is Batton meeting the needs of the customers? Okay, maybe they are no longer meeting the needs of their customers. Okay, are there any opportunities for branding here? Maybe Batton can extend their line. They can launch new models of bicycles. As we learn that there's more and more demand for different types of bicycles. Batton only makes 2 types. Should they get into mountain bikes, road bikes, children's bikes, etc.? Or maybe Batton can get into some brand extensions. Could they produce Batton branded bicycle helmets, bicycle clothes, bicycle accessories, things like this? And what's happening with Batton's profitability? Well, this you guys will get into later in the story. Let's now move to the manufacturing process. Please make sure that you've read the section on the manufacturing process, starting on page 5 before we continue. Make sure you've taken some detailed notes. Okay, the beginning of this section, we learn about the 84 highly skilled long-term employees who do the production at Batton Bicycles. From an HR management angle, could you suggest a recruitment and selection plan if we needed to find more workers, if we are expanding production? What could we do to motivate and retain these workers? Okay, and one of the processes in cleaning and painting, we learn about the dangerous activities and the protective equipment that these guys need to wear when they work. Can you outline a health and safety policy for Batton to implement if there isn't one? We learn lots of technical vocabulary about the manufacture of bicycles. Don't worry about this. You won't be tested on these technical words like brazing. But we get production times. It's very important for you to recognize which product takes more time, which one is more labor intensive. Okay. And we see many activities laid out for us. Can you explain and apply the value chain model? We know how Batton competes. They compete on quality. Okay? And what activities in this process are contributing to that high quality? Could there be a bottleneck? Okay? These processes take different times. Maybe we're going to get more information about throughput accounting. Can you interpret such a report? If you're given throughput accounting ratios by product, what does that mean? What can you recommend with such a report? Oh, can you apply the 4 V's of operations to Batton? Volume, variety, variation in demand, and visibility. How does that apply to Batton? Now, how about capacity planning? What approach to capacity planning does Batton use? So, lots of things from operations management to look at here and apply to the pre-scene materials. Lots of inventory. We learned that Batton stores bicycles. They have lots of inventory. Can you explain and advise on the right accounting standards if you're asked to value this inventory or to recommend how to do that? Can you apply IAS 2? Now, Maybe Batton is going to go lean. Maybe they're going to get into modern manufacturing. Can you talk about what's required if they're going to go lean? Can you talk about one-piece flow? Can you talk about total quality management? Maybe we're going to learn about some problems with quality. Can you apply Six Sigma? Maybe they should go down that road. So from operations management, from HR management, lots of interesting things to say about Batton's manufacturing process. Let's jump now to the marketing section of the pre-scene on page 6. So again, have a read of this, take some notes, and join me after you've digested this section of the pre-scene. Okay. Well, there are a lot of issues in this short section of the story. And what do we learn? Right off the bat, we learn that marketing is not a strategic activity for this company. Okay? It's just a admin activity, it seems. Not a whole lot of effort is put into their marketing. Can you criticize all of this? And you can break your criticism down into different areas. How about Batton's current marketing mix? How are they using the 4 Ps, especially promotion? Okay, we only learn about this old-fashioned, paper-based, traditional advertising. They're not doing anything cool in the digital marketing arena. Can you criticize their product portfolio? Well, how many bicycles do they have? They only make 2 models. And we learn from our review of the external environment that there is a growing demand for many different types of bicycles. Okay. Now, can you recommend a new marketing approach for Batton? Can you recommend to your colleagues? Can you advise? Well, can you change that marketing mix? How would you change it? How about some new marketing activities? Okay, can you enter some new segments for Batton? What new types of bicycles could they make? Very important, could you suggest a planning process for marketing for Batton to implement? And a theme in the E-pillar. Okay, can you suggest some cool, funky e-commerce ideas? What can they do with a website? What can they do with guerrilla marketing? What can they do with a mobile app? Have fun with this. And I recommend that you check out the websites of some modern cutting-edge bicycle companies. For example, the Kona Bicycle Company, K-O-N-A. Check out what Specialized Bicycles are doing in their approach to marketing. Guys, so that is the existing marketing. Okay, let's move to the final area of the pre-scene material that we have time to debrief on this video, and that's the costing approach. So, everyone, please find that section of the pre-scene, as well as the production overheads schedule. You can find that later in the pre-scene. Have a read, take some notes, and let's continue. Well, in this short paragraph, we learn that this traditional company, Batton Bicycles, straight from the mass production era, using push production, using this manual, old-fashioned approach. Well, they also use an old-fashioned approach to allocating the overheads to cost units, absorption costing. We learn about the previous managing director's approach to cost control here. And we have a look at the overheads. We see that energy is the highest overhead, followed by other production overheads. And we see some breakdowns by quality and packaging. Well, what are some issues that emerge in this area? Well, first of all, what do you think of the simple absorption costing approach? Well, if the environment is getting more competitive, maybe Batton has to allocate overheads more precisely. Can we move this company to ABC? Can you recommend a way to do that? Can you interpret an activity-based costing approach? Okay, this is straight from the sample case study on the website of CIMA, so make sure you very carefully have a look at that. What do you think of Jack's approach to cost control? I personally think it's very dangerous to ignore costs as long as we have profits. Moving to the overheads, We see that energy is the largest overhead. Can you recommend a cost driver that goes with energy if we wanted to allocate that to cost units? How about quality control? Can you find a cost driver for that? Hint, for both of those items, you can look right into the production process section of the pre-scene. How about the packaging costs? Shouldn't these be easy to trace to the cost units? How about in the notes of the overheads, we find that the standards have not been updated since 1965. Okay? This is a big performance management issue, and it has implications. How can the workers be motivated if their standards have not been changed? It must be very easy for them to hit their targets. Okay, so those are just some of the issues that we find when we get into the costing and the production overheads. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our debrief of the first half of the pre-scene materials. So, I'm going to give you some tips so that you can work at home and continue your analysis of the Batton Bicycle Company now. And here are some recommendations. Well, when you turn the page, you're going to get into the numbers. You're going to find some financial statements. Well, I recommend that you perform some ratio analysis and look at profitability. What's happening to sales? What's happening to profit? Well, you might find that sales are going up, profits are going down. What's happening to the margins? Can you evaluate liquidity of the company? What's happening with working capital management? Can you calculate the cash operating cycle? Is it getting longer or is it getting shorter? What's happening to their funding approach to working capital? Is it getting more aggressive or more conservative? Make sure you sink your teeth into all of the management accounting reports that you see. Can you find the contribution per product? Can you work out the contribution ratios for each product? Can you analyze the cash flow statement? Okay. Make sure you review your accounting standards from F1. Can you apply those accounting standards to the issues that you find, like tax, for example? Do you find any more performance management issues? Okay. What are the objectives of this company? Do we have any KPIs? Can you recommend critical success factors? Can you talk about a balanced scorecard? Well, you are presented with a big section of non-financial information as well called Business in Focus. Okay? Make sure you continue your PESTLE, your SWOT analysis, and add your own ideas to everything that we've discovered so far on our review of Batton Bicycles. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you best of luck in May, and if you live in Warsaw, if you live in the region, I hope that we can meet on our course that's happening in April on the Operational Case Study. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I say goodbye now, and good luck in May.